En su regreso al Festival Internacional de Música y Danza de Granada, hablamos con la pianista rusa Yulianna Avdeeva, protagonista del recital dedicado a Chopin, y al pianista del gueto de Varsovia, Władysław Szpilman, conocido por todos como el pianista, gracias a la película de Roman Polanski. Good evening, Yulianna.
Hello.
Hello, welcome back to the Granada Festival, first of all.
Yes, that's a great pleasure to be back here after 4 years, but it remains beautiful, the same as I have it in my memory. Absolutely unique. Yeah.
Great. And 14 years after winning the International Chopin Piano Competition, you launched the release Chopin Voyage, which has been awarded the Diapason d'Or de l'année last year. Has your approach to Chopin's music changed since winning the piano competition in Warsaw? And do you still find something new in his music every time you play it?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I think his music is so rich that I will never be able even to understand small little part of it. I think that, of course, also with my, let's say, basic experience, not only in music, but also life experience, I discover many new details in the score every time I perform. It doesn't matter how often I play the piece, it still remains very fresh and new and very dear to me. Mm-hmm. So tonight it's a combination of the pieces from, let's say, the nocturnes. We're going backwards. We're starting from the late period, then we go with the fantasy, which is more or less middle, and then coming back to the Andante Spianato, a Gran Polonese Brilliant, which is a fantastic piece from his youth. Mm-hmm. And the second part is the prelude, which is the absolute masterpiece. And Chopin was a master of a form that he was able to put the expression in sometimes in very short pieces, like some preludes are like 16 bars. Mm-hmm. But every single note has a certain meaning. It's not, just to be there. It has every single note in his music has its role, and it's beautiful to discover these roles again and again.
Great. And talking of Chopin, what's the greatest challenge for a pianist when playing Chopin?
I think for me personally, it's this combination of being very classical on one hand, like, he was a great admirer of music of Bach and Mozart, but mm-hmm. at the same time, this freedom, this improvising moment in the nocturnes, but also in mazurkas or also in some preludes you will hear that. So it's this absolutely unpredictable movements of the soul, as I call it, mm-hmm. and it's not something what you can. Let's say it's something which is also born from in the moment. So it's born sometimes depending on the environment I am on the piano, on the public. So it's on my personal mood and condition. So there are so many factors which play such an important role in the final. That's why I adore live concerts, because it's always a product of something coming at this particular moment, and it cannot be repeated.
Excellent. And how important was Chopin's influence for the evolution and development of the piano language?
Oh, definitely. He was one of the visionaries, because he was also one of the first composers who literally made the piano sing. Mm-hmm. So in the nocturnes especially, you will hear also maybe a little bit the influence of his favorite Italian composer Bellini, because he adored Bellini, and you will hear this maybe sometimes operatic moments with the beautiful aria, yes, with some free moments again, like a little cadenzas or some, mm-hmm. in the opera. So I think that he was one of the few people who literally made this actually a very physical instrument. It brought it to sing. And however, I think that he's also in his piano technique, basically he's one of a kind. So because if you see, we have a certain, let's say, a certain school or direction, starting with Beethoven, yes, with Czerny, Liszt, and going on to the 20th century. Also, yeah. I am myself, if I will count back my teachers, and I will find out that I was a pupil of Liszt, and then at the end, probably
wow.
by Beethoven. Oh, no. But however, yes, so I'm talking about the piano school, the way you play piano. Mm-hmm. And Chopin was a completely different, he had used a completely different technique. He was he had also very unusual hand, let's say. And also through his pupil, we have another school, but from the composer's, let's say from the composer point of view, or a pianist point of view, you will not find any composer which will write in a similar way for piano as he did.
Great, and let's talk about the other composer of the program tonight. How would you describe Władysław Szpilman's piano suite Das Leben der Maschinen, which is one of his earliest works written in Berlin?
Well, for me, it was a great discovery to learn the music by Władysław Szpilman. Well, I know his family. That's how it happened that I was so lucky to get the score of the suite, The Life of the Machine. So Władysław Szpilman, as you already mentioned, he is the protagonist he's the protagonist of the Roman Polanski movie, The Pianist. So the plot of the movie is based on the diaries of Szpilman, which he wrote down after the World War II. And let's say the crucial thing is that he was studying in Berlin. He wanted to be a classical composer. And in 1933, right before he came back to Warsaw, he composed this suite, which is very, I think it's very typical for this time. It has this kind of industrial moment because it's a little bit mechanical, but also with a great sense of humor, because the second movement is called Machines at Rest. So it means that the machines also have a little bit some human qualities if they need rest. However, he was performing at the Polish radio in Warsaw. He was a pianist of the Polish radio until the war started. And then he actually, yes, he was in the ghetto, and his family was killed in one of the concentration camps. So basically, almost all pieces which he composed before the war were lost. With very few exceptions, I think 5 survived pieces. And this suite is actually a wonder, because the score of this suite, the original manuscript, was found in Los Angeles by accident in 2000. Mm-hmm. So as I received the score of this piece, I was extremely happy, because thanks to this, we can have a little idea what kind of classical composer Władysław Szpilman would have been. And the very shocking fact for me is that after the war, he was not able to reconstruct any of the pieces he composed before. So it's because of his traumatic experiences. So this is something what I think is absolutely, it's so hard to imagine even what could one have experienced that he forgot his own pieces. So I think it's a wonderful moment that we have this historical documents. I call it historical documents, the suite and the mazurka. The mazurka Władysław Szpilman composed in 1940 in ghetto already. Mm-hmm. 1942, excuse me. The mazurka was composed in 1942, and as he was suffering at the Warsaw ghetto already, and as being Jewish, he was not allowed to play the music of Frédéric Chopin. So this piece is not a copy or something. It reminds on the style of Chopin, but that was made on purpose, because he was trying to avoid this prohibition. And this piece has so much. It has some beautiful memories from the past, but still also some hope for the future. That's why I think this piece is really very. It's important to experience it, to hear it, to perform it. So I'm very happy that I can play Szpilman's music here at the festival in Granada.
Excellent. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
And toi.